Hey everybody, and welcome to the Daily Space Weather. We've got new sunspots forming and the ionosphere not being boring. Large coronal hole in the southern hemisphere of the sun here, right under my pointer there, has been sending some higher density solar wind our direction. We're waiting to see if it gets higher or if the density increases. New sunspots forming right in this area here. Actually, there's some new umbrae. We'll show you the detailed imagery toward the end of the video. Sunspot 2842, still significant. 2841, been shrinking. It could lose its name today. It's now only an alpha class sunspot. Here's another wavelength. This is 193 angstroms ionized iron. Here's another state of ionized iron, a different ionic state, a different number of electrons in the iron atom's shells are what 94 angstroms is, a specific band of the ultraviolet light spectrum. Here's another ionized state of iron, 171 angstroms, and the colorized magnetogram. One of our in-house personal favorites. Shout out to smAsho staff. Again, this is an area to keep an eye on right here. And when I say eye on, oh, well, if you're a regular viewer, you get the joke. Anyway, here's a diagram of the solar system. Let's advance this 1 week. As the Earth creeps up on Saturn and Jupiter, there's where things will be on July 20th. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux only at 72 solar flux units. If you're wondering what a solar flux unit is, it's 10,000 joules. Radio flux density. All right. Here's the 1 year chart of that to put it in context. The black line here is the radio flux. The red line is the sunspot number. And we've stopped by the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard here to show you that there is some geomagnetic unrest forecasted again for tomorrow morning. We never saw it today. We saw only a modest increase in the solar wind speed. We'll get to it momentarily. First, seismicity. There's a massive 7 magnitude earthquake drought going on for the past 90 days. Only one 7 magnitude earthquake drought. And we've got some earthquake swarms here, especially this one south of Kamchatka. On and south of Kamchatka, it looks like. So the first one we see here on the list since yesterday is coming in at 11:41 Universal Time. That's a 4.6. And it's a foreshock as we've seen that situation increase. Also, what's going on here? A 3.7 in New Mexico there. Let's actually zoom in on that. Check it out, a little swarm here northwest of Santa Fe. And let's go back to the list. Also, some more earthquakes in Southern California here. So the largest quake of the past 24 was a 5.6, I think, at the Kuril Islands here, south of the Kamchatka Peninsula, in between Kamchatka and Japan. North of Japan, south of the Kamchatka Peninsula. Also a 5.3 happening there as the earthquake drought continues, folks. It's a lull in earthquakes. And we've got some new volcanoes now showing up in the list. Let's check volcanism. Now that we've looked at seismicity, Abico, producing a 12,000-foot plume of volcanic ash there over Paramushir Island. Suwanosejima volcanic ash not identifiable in satellite imagery. Cinnabung, flight level 100, it's producing a 10,000-foot ash plume now over the Indonesian Isle of Sumatra. Luatolo in the Lesser Sunda Islands, exploding. Flight level 080 there. It's an 8,000-foot ash plume. Fuego on Guatemala. Volcanic ash not observed in satellite. Please do not attempt to do the Fosbury flop over the caldera. Sangay in Ecuador, exploding. Flight level 230, so an uptick there at Sangay, I think. 23,000-foot plume of volcanic ash, and Sabancaya is reminding us not to pole vault the caldera as it explodes and produces a 24,000-foot plume of continuous ash emissions. We remind you not to pole vault the caldera. Here at smAshomash.com, we believe in safety first. That's why I like to ride thousands of miles per year on a bicycle. No, seriously, don't pole vault the caldera. And support our channel via pressing like, subscribe, clicking the merch links, picking up some merch, perhaps with this fantastic logo here of Steve Stimpak performing a volcanic caldera pole vault. Don't do it, folks. Don't do it. Let's take a look at the sun-facing suite of instruments on the GOES 16. No major solar flares here over the past 24. In fact, we haven't even seen a C-class flare over the past 3 days. And the current sunspot environment is likely to produce major flares. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change with no warning. Here's the proton flux. No spikes in that either. No coronal mass ejections have been headed our way. Here's the GOES magnetometer, and we're seeing some very low readings recently coming through here. And that's a characteristic that we regularly see when there are coronal hole wind streams on their way, as plasma has the effect of being heated up by and oriented to the magnetic fields. It can also block the reading. So if you have a very dense sheet of plasma in between you and your magnet, it's hard to sense the magnet. Anyway, there's 3 days of the GOES magnetometer. Here's the top view ecliptic plane field plot. There is a North Pole current sheet on the way. Stereo A is already in the North Pole current sheet, shown here in green. And it might be at Earth here in a day or two, possibly even by tomorrow's video. I won't make any forecasts on that. Keep in mind this data was 3 hours and 19 minutes old when we recorded the video. Here's a line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. A different perspective on the same data, basically. And we'll also show the coronal hole line of sight plot. There's that. And you can see that large red-colored south pole-oriented coronal hole. There's also a North Pole-oriented coronal hole rotating in. And here's some more solar imagery, the magnetograms, sunspots, and detected coronal holes. So right here we have a new possible sunspot forming. If that does get a name, it'll be sunspot 2843. We've got a coronal hole wind stream showing up in a pretty weak fashion here. But we have seen the density wave and a small, modest increase in the solar wind. We'll show you that data momentarily. And the North Pole-oriented coronal hole up here is behind sunspot 2842, which has a bunch of plasma suspended, so the ASSA detected coronal holes plot is not picking it up yet. We can expect to see that in a day or two. Global geomagnetism is calm. KP only went up to 3 here. Current condition is only a KP of 1. And here's a real-time solar wind. And we've got some error bars showing up. Let's just briefly cover it. We did recently see the BT-BZ converge on the 0 line. So that's going to reduce the amount of geoactivity associated with the coronal hole. The KP3 was probably right around this moment when we had a BZ of -7 and a BT of 10. The total field has weakened, and the negative component has become a positive component, close to the 0 line. So it's a more balanced magnetic environment right now. Current conditions are solar wind density 7.5 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed only a modest uptick from yesterday at 361 kilometers per second. I think yesterday it was below 300 kilometers a second. We reported 297, I think. And there's some higher temperatures associated with that high-speed portion of the coronal hole wind stream. I would expect this to go on for about a day. We could see some higher geomagnetism, but if the BZ stays like it is, it's doubtful. All right, so here's magnetohydrodynamic pressure. 4 hours of data, geospace magnetosphere movie. I would expect this to be pretty stable here over the past 4 hours, at least according to the space weather modeling framework. No major fluctuations happening in the components that make up this model. Here's 4 hours of data of geospace delta B ground magnetic perturbation, since we're surviving a geomagnetic excursion right now. Which, by the way, if you're wondering about geomagnetic excursions, they very, 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 very rarely turn into a geomagnetic reversal. Anyway, there's 4 hours of data of perturbations on the ground. By the way, if you don't check us out on Twitch, check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/smAshomash. We'll actually stream live today, thanks to our followers over there on Twitch. We've been streaming our meteorology segments live on Twitch. It's a fantastic mobile streaming platform and live streaming platform on the computer. I'm on the computer right now, not mobile streaming, but yeah, it's a fantastic streaming platform, period. And if you're viewing the videos any place besides on YouTube, for you BitChute viewers out there, make sure you subscribe over on YouTube. I don't care if you hate Google or not. Most of our content is on YouTube. And if you want to see the full list of our videos, check out youtube.com/smashomash/videos. Press refresh and you'll never miss a video like this one we just shot this morning. There was some lightning going on, so perhaps check that out. It's in our nature. Get outside, people. So there's a little tidbit for you. Go check that out. You can find all our playlists at youtube.com/smashomash/playlists. And if you're only watching us on YouTube, you should subscribe over on BitChute, as we just put up an exclusive video over there. Cheers. Today's featured product is the I've survived a global pandemic so far shirt, which I'm currently wearing. This one's in gold. It's gold, baby, gold. There you go. And you may not be able to see that well, so I'll show you the design. There's the design. It says, I've survived a global pandemic so far, and it's got a Grim Reaper motif and a planetary-sized COVID virus. And our website, smashomash.org, which will redirect you to smashomash.com. You can find that by clicking on the smAsho store, by the way, right there. Also, check out our forum. There's a cosmology forum there, smAsho merch, etc. Here's the smAsho merch shop. Oh, there's a teaser. And we'll incorporate today's cosmology segment into the daily space weather video. So let me just cue that up, as there's at least one interesting story to talk about. Actually, there are several, but we're only going to do one today because we're keeping it short. So, Saturn's moon Iapetus is a strange moon. It has an equatorial ridge, which makes it, quote, resemble a walnut. I don't see how it resembles a walnut, but it also has this dark material, which is believed to be sublimated icy dirt, and causes it to have this painted-like appearance, where a large portion of it is dark and a large portion of it is light. Anyway, there's this great three-dimensional viewer here, huge crater. You can zoom in and out. It's quite good. It's the astronomy picture of the day at apod.nasa.gov. Check it out yourself if you want to learn more about Saturn's moon Iapetus. And today we're not going to pick a random number. Actually, we will. So here's item number 360 on the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory. It's a BL Lacertae galaxy. And I'm not super excited about it, so let's end today's cosmology segment right there and continue on with the daily space weather. Next, we'll talk about electrons. The ones surrounding the Earth aren't charging any satellites right now. We're seeing low levels of electron flux, as we forecasted yesterday. Maybe not quite as low as the forecast, but in any case, there's the one-year chart of the electron flux, and here's the 3-day chart. And we're seeing quite chaotic electron belts and some massive anomalies by Antarctica, once again, similar to ones that we've showed in previous videos. Similar to ones that we've actually featured on our thumbnails of our daily space weather videos. In any case, here is the forecast, and it's for levels to remain flat. I guess that must be the forecasted bottom, according to NOAA. And I was incorrect yesterday. I forecasted this to be actually here instead of where it is. So, yeah, anyway, it's a pretty minor oversight. There's a diagram of the Van Allen belt so we know what we're looking at, and here is the total electron content forecast. And we're seeing very chaotic electron belts as well as these anomalies down here. You can see once again south of Africa, some massive electron anomalies happening there, indicating changes to Earth's magnetic field. So there you go, some huge blobs of high-density electrons occurring in an unexpected area south of the Atlantic Ocean and of Africa. And also quite chaotic electron belts here. Surprising amounts of GPS errors happening at nighttime in the past 24. And there you can see those anomalies again. Those occurred at... They started up at 1450 or so. That would be yesterday. And they ceased at about 1850. So about 4 hours there of massive electronic anomalies. Play that through one more time. And then we'll continue on to take a look at the ionosphere, which is also looking highly anomalous. So we're looking at the F ionosphere layer on the next frame. It's located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. And let me reload it so it is animated, and there is the vibrational frequency of the ionosphere layer, the bridge between Earth and space, you could say. And you wouldn't be wrong. And it's looking very anomalous here. The ionosphere is looking wobbly. That's the best way I could possibly explain it. It's highly discharged around the South Pole. It's what we call the F layer. When you see those red blobs, that's only 1 megahertz. That's the F layer. It's the F ionosphere breaks into multiple double layers in the daytime, and that's what you're looking at. The higher vibrational regions, that's F2, F3, F4, F5, and so on. Anyway, quite anomalous here. If you're used to watching our videos daily, you would probably tend to agree. Anomalies in the north and south poles when it comes to the ionosphere. Let's bring up the latest image. It's at 7:45 Universal Time, and look at the massive F layer. A huge area of only 1 megahertz south of the equator there. Today's meteorology segment was a separate video. Make sure you check that out if you haven't. youtube.com/smAsho/playlists, and let's check out the latest hydrogen alpha imagery here from Udaipur, India. So here's the latest from Udaipur in hydrogen alpha, and it looks like a cloudy day there. It's not providing us very good data at all. Moving on. And here's the GO 16 SUVI thematic map. Note the time and date stamps. Not a lot to explain here. Not all that much activity. Quite low levels of activity, actually. And here's some high-res views. So this is the latest refresh here of the intensitygram. Here's Sunspot 2842. Looking pretty stable since yesterday. Sunspot 2841 looking like it's going to lose its name. And possible Sunspot 2843 over here someplace. Not looking very large or in charge. So here's a colorized magnetogram. We pressed refresh. There's the possible new sunspot. It looks like it may have ombre. 2841 looks like it's going to lose its name. And 2842 is looking stable. It's only alpha class. It's unlikely to produce major flares. Next, I'd like to thank our patrons. Thanks, patrons, for being the true source of funding for these videos. Consider becoming a patron for all kinds of benefits nobody else gets to see. Patreon.com/smashamash is the URL. Thanks again to our patrons, as we make just this side of nothing to put the videos on YouTube. Patreon.com/smashamash. And here's some more composite imagery of the closest star, El Sol. If you've got comments directly for the sun, please leave them in our comments section. And thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather video. May that solar wind be at your back.